Okay, so I'm going to do an algorithm question and tell you what I would do. This question I think was from last year, and actually it looks like a long question, doesn't it? It looks like quite a complicated question. So you could see this and you could kind of think, oh gosh, and panic. But if you just take your time and read the question, it's actually not as tricky as it first seems. So it's saying an algorithm stores the position of a character on a straight line as an integer. So an integer is a whole number. A user can move the character left or right. The following algorithm generates one random number between 1 and 512 to store as the position. So that's the position of the character. Prompts the user to input a direction to move, so left or right, and takes a direction as input until a valid direction is input. So it's talking about this algorithm here. So we've got the generating a random number here and saving it in the p variable. We've got that printing it out. We've got a blank string variable. We know it's a string because it's got speech marks. And we've got a while loop checking what's in that variable. And if it's not equal to left and is not equal to right, then we ask for the direction again just here. So this whole section relates to something that you're given already. You don't have to do anything for this whole bit. Then we move down. If the character moves left, 5 is subtracted from the position. If the character moves right, right is added to the position. The position of the character can only be between 1 and 512 inclusive. And then it talks about a function. Now a function is like a small little program that does something, a subprogram, and it's referenced within a larger main program. So this function is called moveCharacter, and it describes the function here and what it should do. And then if we look further down, the actual task is to write this function. It starts the function for you here. So you've got the word function, and then you've got the name of this function, and then you've got the parameters, which is data that needs to be passed into this function in order for your code to work that you're going to write. So this is the most important bit just here. This is telling you what you've got to do. Takes the direction left or right and current position as parameters. Well, it's done that for you already. Changes the position based on the direction. Sets the position to 1 if the new position is greater than 1. Sets the position to 512 if the new position is greater than 512. Returns the new position. So when you've got a subprogram within a larger program, it does a load of instructions. It follows your algorithm and then it just returns some data back into the main program. So you'd get a whole mark just for doing that, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So it's some if statements. That's what we've got to use here. We've got to check if the direction is left, and if it is, subtract 5 from the position. If the direction is right, we add 5. Then once we've got our new position, we check if it's 1, less than 1, and if it is, we make it 1, and then we check if the position is greater than 512, and if it is, we set it to 512. So I'm going to write my answer up here. I'm going to start off with if. Now you wouldn't actually write your answer here, you'd write your answer here within the function. I'm just putting it up here so that you can see it clearly. So if direction is equal to right. Now the word right is a string, so I'm putting it in speech marks. In Python you end an if expression with a colon. In OCR pseudocode you replace that with a then, and in VB it's also a then. It doesn't matter, you'd get the marks for either. I'm going to use a colon. Direction equals, it's not direction, is it? It's position. Hold on a minute. Now that would have lost me marks because I wouldn't have been referencing the right parameter that's being passed in. I would have been, oh no, that one's direct, that one's correct, sorry about this. But this does show you that even when you know what you've got to write, you might go wrong and you've got to double check. Position, that's the position of your character. Position plus 5. Now I know that some of you will be used to, or might have programmed something like this using a smaller operator here, the equals and the plus combined together. I wouldn't do that. I'd write it out so that the examiner has no choice but to give you the marks. You know, they're not going to miss it, because examiners might be trying to mark as quick as they can. We want to make sure that they see that you know what you're doing. Okay, now else if. So elif, in OCR pseudocode it is else if. I think in VB it's else if, but in Python it's elif. They just shortened it. Direction is equal to left colon position is equal to position minus 5. Now we've got the new position. Now we need to check if it's less than 1. If position is less than 1, then position becomes 1. Else if, again, position is greater than 512, position, they will forgive like minor errors in like spelling with variable names, but we want to try and get it right. So position is equal to 512. Now there's one thing left to do. Returns the new position. Return position. So you get a mark for just writing that. So that's my answer. And if I look at the next slide, I've got the actual mark scheme. So I've used both parameters. That's my first mark tick. Attempt at a selection. Well, that's attempting an if statement. I've done that tick. Correctly checking if direction is left and subtracting 5. Yes, tick. Correctly checking if direction is right and adding 5. Yes. Ensuring position is between 1 and 512 inclusive. So that second if statement you only get 1 mark for. And then returning the updated position, you get a mark there. So that whole question is worth 6 marks. I took my code in Python and I put it into ChatGPT and asked it to show it in VB6, which is what the language that you're more used to. So here we are. No declaring of variables, you don't need to do any of that. But we've got if direction is equal to left, then position equals position minus 5, and so on. Very, very similar, just a few syntax differences to the Python. Okay, I hope that has helped.